Touhou LostWord is getting its third Unsparkable Epic unit, and it looks like we're getting about one every month at this point. In this video, I will be comparing Beats Hecc to the previous Epic units, which are Blue and Bikini Yukari, which I have covered in previous videos. Hecc is a unit focused on debuffs, but she's quite lacking in other areas such as team support, as well as any sort of self buffs, as well as her last word damage, which seems to be quite a bit lower than our friends Blue and Bikini Yukari. But we're gonna start out by looking at her breaks. So she has 3 water breaks and 3 earth breaks on each of her spell cards, which is exactly the same layout as Yukari, who has 3 sun, 3 water, and Blue, who has 3 sun and 3 wood. So in terms of elements, they look quite the same, but Blue has these anomaly breaks, so she inflicts 3 paralyze and instantly breaks them. So any enemy that's not immune to paralyze will get 3 barriers broken by this spell card regardless of their elemental weakness. And Yukari has a similar thing with her solo targeting spell card except with freeze. But Hecc does not have that, does not apply any anomalies on the spell cards. She does apply 3 freeze to all targets with her skill, which she can then break with her all targeting spell card. But I would say her anomaly breaks are just weaker than the other 2. In terms of shots, nothing too spectacular. Her shots are all targeting. This is all targeting, but there's no element here on P0. And here she has water on P0, so that's AoE, like 1 AoE water break, which is like nothing that spectacular. These other epic units, they have 2 solo shots with like 1 element each, so it's like, I mean, the shots aren't, they're not going to have a big impact. I will note that she can inflict freeze with this shot, and then, oh, it's not even, it's an 80% freeze. So, okay, that's 80%, this is 100%, and this is 100%. So she can inflict some freeze with these shots, and then she can break them with her other shot. So, and this is targeting all enemies, just like Yukari can do that as well. Inflict freeze and then break them. But there's a problem here because both these units kind of don't have, like, if you try and do this, then you'll have like accuracy issues, because, so, I mean, that's kind of cool, but also like, you're never gonna, like, that's kind of like just like a meme, I guess. But who cares about breaks when you can just debuff the enemies? Being a debuff epic, it must have great debuffs, right? Well, so this skill, it's like 3 Yang defense, 2 Yin defense, and 3 crit defense for 5 turns, but it has a horrendously long 7-turn cooldown. And this is not great because you never really want 5 turns of debuffs. So, like, if you debuff the enemy, you're probably killing it within 2 or maximum like 3 turns. So 5 turns of debuffs is like complete overkill in terms of the number of turns. And the result is that she has a 7 cooldown on this skill, which is horrendous. You're only using this once per battle. Like, when is a battle ever lasting more than 7 turns? And this skill as well, 6 turns cooldown, quite horrendous. This skill gives her a spirit power up, and it gives its 3 evasion down for 3 turns. So evasion down is not great. It's just like a worse version of accuracy up. Like, if you compare it to Blue has just like party-wide 3 accuracy up for 3 turns with 4 turns of cooldown and crit attack as well. And Hecc just gets 6-turn cooldown on this skill with 3 turns of evasion down to all enemies. It's like objectively worse than Blue. On her all targeting spell card, she does 2 Yang defense down and on hers to all targets, and on her solo targeting card, she does 3 Yang Yin attack and defense onto a single target. So this is not, overall, it's not super great, right? Her skill can do 3 Yang to all targets 1 time per battle, pretty much, 7-turn cooldown, and then she can do another 2 AoE with her card. And so it's nothing really spectacular. And I don't think it, and on her last word, it's 2 Yang defense and 2 Yin defense down, as well as 3 crit accuracy and evasion, or crit evasion and defense rather. And oh, that sounds great, but all the other epic units, like even Blue also has 3 Yin and 2 Yang defense down. So I mean, this isn't like anything spectacular compared to the other epic units. Yukari also has defense down on her last word, and this goes to 2 defense down as if you max awaken her, and she has defense down on these bullet lines as well. So Heccatia's last word really doesn't have like any. It's not this is nothing spectacular. Like all the epics have this basically. So she gets a bit of defense down on her cards. Now I'm going to stop to mention this story card, which is available on her states versus Beats Yukari, and it does look really good on her. So you can put it on her spell cards to give -3 Yang defense to all enemies. But the thing is, now every debuff unit in the game can also use this spell card or this story card. So, and there's also a 4-star gacha card which has a very similar effect, by the way. So, what I'm saying is that yeah, the story card makes her good, but it also makes every other debuffer good. And by the way, this state doesn't seem to be extremely difficult like versus L1 Reimu. It should be doable without Beat Heccatia. So yeah, her spell cards gets 2 Yang defense down, whatever. This can literally be replaced by a story card on any other debuffer, and which, by the way, will have a better cooldown on their actual debuffing skill. So that's very meh. She gives up a lot for these little debuffs over here. All the other epic units like Blue Moo, he has 3 accuracy, 3 crit attack to party, and she has all these agility to the party as well as yin defense to the party. Yukari has tons of buffs, lots of yang attack and crit attack, like a lot, like boost and grace also give more yang and crit attack. And she gives 2 party barrier on skill, and of course the debuffs, right? Like the dispel locks, the lock removal. And yeah, and yang attack, yang defense. And Heccatia, she gets literally nothing. Outside of her debuffs, she has like literally no team support. She has 1 barrier on this spell card to the party, and like she heals some HP, Hecc W, but other than that, she literally has no buffs. She is absolutely unable to buff herself at all. So she has she benefits from anomaly, so she gets attack from freeze barriers and she inflicts 2 freeze to herself. But other than that, she has 0 yang attack at all. She has yang attack on her shot, which is like over here, but that's like complete, like that's like that barely even counts. So she literally has no yang attack, no way to buff her own yang attack, which is quite horrendous. It's comparable to like a unit from like a general unit from like a year ago. So in terms of her accuracy, again, she has major accuracy problems because outside of her debuff, this evasion down debuff, then she has no accuracy. So if her last word, let's say her last word full breaks an enemy, and then the full break will remove the evasion buff, so then she will start to miss. And she does get accuracy on the first bullet line, so but it's only 1 accuracy. This is a huge troll. Like Yukari has a similar thing where she doesn't, all her accuracy comes from like her spell cards. Like over here, she gains accuracy, so it looks like she has no accuracy, but she actually does have accuracy. Over here, she gains 2 accuracy, which is just enough, or like which is enough to reach 100% accuracy. Heccatia, oh look, she has accuracy, but it's 1 accuracy, so she will still miss some bullets if not for her evasion. And remember, her evasion is like 3 turns with 6 turns of cooldown, and because it gives her spirit power, you might want to use it on turn 1 so that you can boost. And this spell card also has accuracy here, but it's on like the 2nd bullet line, so it's a little bit like you might miss out some damage or even miss some breaks by the time you land a bullet from this bullet line, which then triggers the accuracy. So yeah, it's she really needs heavy support for yang attack and yang defense in order to do damage, like in order to hit comparable levels of damage to these other units. And that's the thing, her last word has really unusual killers. Like here it's like swimsuit, otherworld, and summer killers. And so these are like, so basically she doesn't hit killers. Blue Moo and Yukari have fantastic killers here. like human yokai god, and on Blue Moon it's like Gensokyo, Animal Kingdom, Hell, Dreamworld, Lunar Heaven. So it's basically everything. And Hecc gets like swimsuit, summer. So it's like, see, that's not hit killers. Her scaling on her last word is bad. This is 100% scaling, 100% hard. This, if you compare it to this, this is 100%, 90% hard and 90% slice, which means that defense and agility will increase her damage. Yukari has 180% hard, 175% here, and then over here 185%. But yep, and her stats distribution is also pretty bad. Like she has a lot of yin attack for some reason. She has lots of hate speed for some reason. A yang attack and defense, which are important for her damage output. A yang defense is pretty low. Yukari gets about like her stats at like 12 SP, which will be about 1,450. So she gets 1,900 yang and 1,450 yang defense. And Blue Moon gets like, yeah, about almost 2k of each attacking stats. And she scales off both defense and agility. So basically, Hecc's damage is looking very poor. And her last word is only like half of the lines are water. It's mostly water, but there's still that earth bit at the back. And this is not great because, let's say there's an enemy weak to water. If it's all water last word, you can like break like 5 barriers and still do quite a bit of damage. Like for example, Kanagi in Moon X. Having more elements also just increases your chance of getting resisted. So yeah, she's not great considering what you have to pay for her. And before we go, I want to take a look at her passive abilities.
And this is a bit of an interesting one, but every turn, one of her passives, she applies freeze and yang defense down to her enemy.
No, she does not. It's at the start of the wave, which basically means just once per battle. And this is not going to be useful at all unless there's only one enemy, because if not, otherwise it will target a random enemy and be completely useless for any sorts of farm. Furthermore, having a random freeze can actually be detrimental because freeze can cause your enemies to be delayed. So there's actually a Moon X farm with Servant where she delays Iku and then Iku fires off a shot on your friends because Iku will then shoot after the bunnies and then actually potentially kill off one of your friends. So this is actually potentially a negative effect. So yeah, that's Epic Hecc. Very meh unit. I would say pretty bad actually for an epic unit. Debuffs, nothing special honestly. Very likely can be replaced by some other debuff like Terry, who even has burn barriers, which it does not have. Burn also, like burn and poison can debuff enemy yin and yang defense as well if you inflict them. Which kind of makes Terry a better debuffer potentially. And her last word, or like rather her lack of buffs, like she wants yang attack, yang defense, and to boost her damage, and she does not get that, so she needs like someone like Beach Yukari, you know, or Otohime to help her out to get those buffs she needs to actually do damage. So yeah, it's an epic unit that needs to be supported rather than carrying the team like Blue Moon and Yukari do. So yeah, I guess it's nice that not all epic units are very strong, so it's not so bad if you miss out on them. Subscribe and goodbye.